you touched on a very interesting point, that the ancient world, especially Greeks in the times of the Hanukkah story, is really the Greeks. When we talk about the Greeks and the negative influence of the Greeks on Judaism, or the contrast, is that the Greeks were, especially beginning with Aristotle in that time period, which is Shimon HaTzadik, and that's a little bit the time period of the second Beis Hamikdash, second temple period, is when it turned from a more right brain understanding of the world, more prophetic, and there was more prophecy in the world, to very much empirical. Very much like if you can see it actually, then it's real. If you can touch it actually, then it's real. And that's the beginning of the scientific revolution. I mean, that's the beginning of all sciences. Everything begins with Aristotle. And fascinatingly, the Greeks were also therefore very much into their bodies. The Greeks worshiped their body because that was what was observed. Instead of the soul, which is something that's the unseen, they worshiped the seen. And fascinatingly, the story of Hanukkah is about an image. Like Chazal say that the sages established the story of Hanukkah. How do we celebrate the story of Hanukkah? Is not through a celebration of a meal or a celebration of listening to a text, which is like on Purim, which is more shmiya, the shmoya, to hear the story of the Megillah, Kriyas Megillah, to read the story of the Megillah, to hear the story of the Megillah. But on Hanukkah, there's no mitzvah to hear the Megillah. Hanukkah, the mitzvah is to light a candle and liroy simbolvat, to see them. So the mitzvah is actually, the obligation is that you should see the candle. But the candle is a very interesting object to be used, because the candle, the flame of a candle, is the most ephemeral, transient image that you can look at, because the moment you look at a flame, it disappeared already, because a new flame is arising. That's one aspect of the flame. The other aspect of the flame is that it's always pointing upwards. It's always directing upwards. It's always transpiring and transcending in an upward movement, which means like this. In contrast to the Greeks, who worshiped the image in itself and the empirical image of itself, and said, okay, so prophecy is coming to a close. And Chazal explained that there's a very deep teachings that the Gra speaks about this, is that once prophecy comes to a close, that's the end of all types of idol worshippers that did have some access to koyach hatumah, to the powers of negative influences. So that world was being closed down, and now is going to turn into a more intellectual, which is the beginning of the Mishnah, the beginning of the Talmud, which is be another way to relate to Hashem through very much the strong left brain. Simultaneously, at that very juncture of history where there was a clash between the Misyavanim, between the Hellenized Jews and the traditional Jews, the Prushim, what was created was an image, which is a Hanukkah candle, a candle. But the candle itself is something that is non-tangible and always changing and always moving upwards, which Chazal in the brilliant way were saying, indicating to us that maybe you're going to now move into a world where it's going to be, you're not going to have that same prophetic insight that you're going to have before. And maybe you're not going to be able to be prophets of old, and you're going to enter into the world that's more intellectual and more Talmudic. But you should remember that what you're seeing is not the ultimate reality. Everything is changing. Don't subscribe too much like the Greeks and say what is only true is what you'd actually see, because we're going to create a candle as a symbol for the transcendence of something that's higher. Here it is, and then it disappears. And that's really that's a mashal. That's a metaphor for all of life. The candle becomes a metaphor for life as Klal Yisrael is going into exile, and they're going into the world of the very foot on the ground. There's like a very real reality of exile. Saying, yeah, but it's a candle. It's a wind. It's going to disappear soon. And what is the essence of the creation? The creation is really always desiring to go upwards, always to try and transcend. So there's actually a very deep correlation between the end of prophecy, the beginning of Greek philosophy, the beginning of Western civilization, and the image of Hanukkah. And fascinatingly, also the symbol of Klal Yisrael, like the symbolic image that Klal Yisrael had throughout the years up until the Magen David, like in much earlier times, was the Menorah. The Menorah was the symbol of a Jew. The symbol of a Jew was a candle, was a flame, because that's what it represents. It represents that, yes, we're here, but we're actually transcending always.
That's such a powerful imagery. I know that you have to go 1 minute. Maybe yes. You can let's just finish up. And this is beautiful ideas to think about. But practical advice speak to our listeners who are going to be lighting the menorah this Hanukkah? And what should we be thinking about? One piece of practical advice that will take our menorah lighting game up to the next level.
I think the first level is everything that we just spoke about. I think it's important because we say in Haner Salah, we say that permission is given to see it, which means that we should see it. And this is the mystical practice. It's what you say, Tresh Avoid, it's what many tzaddikim, to sit by the menorah and listen to the menorah. Like Rabbi Riyad says, to listen to the menorah, to hear what the menorah is talking. So just a simple presence, just to light the candles instead of jumping to the next place, take a chair and just look into the candle and look at the beauty of the flame. Allow your mind to just focus on the flame and the nature of the flame, that it's always changing, that life is always changing. Nothing is permanent. If you get stuck in your life, you say, oh, this is happening to me and that's happening to me. I can't see a way out. And God forbid things are happening in Eretz Yisrael and you have to control the world. And no, things are changing. Look at life. Life is constantly changing. And then on a deeper level, see that everything is actually moving upwards. Everything is moving to the Olam HaYichud, to the world of unification. And this is a metaphor of all of life. There's a tikkun that tzaddikim speak about, that if you can look at the candle long enough, you can actually heal all the seeing that you've seen throughout the entire year. Because throughout the entire year, we're taking all these impressions, all these sights that we see that are negative, and creates negative narratives in our mind, negative images in our mind, and we start feeling in the world. We start filling our minds with these negative thoughts that therefore we feel negative about ourselves, negative about our environment, negative about the world, and less hopeful. And the menorah is a way to do a tikkun for that. Just to look at the candle, to sit and be present with the candle, will be a very healing experience to recognize that things change and this Eina Milvadi, Hashem is the only thing true in this world, and the world is always going to the place of Yichud, to the place of unification, to be one with Hashem.
Well, Rav Pinson, I'm holding on to your every word. This is phenomenal, beautiful. Can you end off? Give us a bracha.
Yes, Hashem should give us a bracha and everyone on Klal Yisrael a bracha, that we should see Yeshua's v'nisim and neflos, see real miracles. The time of Hanukkah, most throughout the year, we're not allowed to daven for miracles. I don't pray for miracles. But on Hanukkah, if a person forgets Ala Nisim, they say Harachmon Yaslan Nisim. Obviously, no, that if a person forgets to say the prayers, they should say, "May the Merciful One give us Nisim," like it happened in times of old. It should happen today, which means on Hanukkah there's an ability to ask for miracles. So Hashem should show us all personal miracles in our own personal lives, and for all of Klal Yisrael, we should see Gedolos v'Yeshuas and Nechamas all of Klal Yisrael and the Gula Mitzvah Shleima.
Amen. Thank you, Rav Pinson.
Thank you. My pleasure. Okay, Hatzlacha.
Recording stopped.
I really appreciate it.
My
Wow,
pleasure.
this is wonderful, wonderful.
Okay, Shukach.
I'll send you the recording.
Okay, Shukach. All right. Thank
Okay.
you. Zayizah.